What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Virzi Effect podcast show. My name is Paul Virzi, and today is Thursday, January 28th, 2016, and you guys are listening to episode 243. I have a very special episode this week. Got a very funny comedian, great guest for the show. So before I do that, because we're going to sit and talk about a bunch of stuff, I just want to get to the sponsors. As always, the Virzi Effect podcast is sponsored by GonzoFame.com. Go to GonzoFame.com for the best, most in-depth interviews with your favorite comedians of today. Dave Gavry over there, funny up-and-coming comedian in Chicago, runs a great website. He's got really funny comedians. And as a matter of fact, my guest today has been one of the people he's interviewed. Also, guys like Hannibal Buress, Doug Stanhope. The list just goes on. I had a great time with him, and it's a really, really good website if you just want to hear about comedians that you either know and are established or up-and-coming comedians. So check that out, gonzofame.com. And as always, support All Things Comedy. Go to allthingscomedy.com. That's where the Virzi Effect podcast resides. And they also did my album, All Things Records. And my guest is also part of All Things Comedy. So let's get into that. Also follow All Things Comedy on Twitter at All Things Comedy. Now, my guest today is a friend of mine. He's been on the show before. I've been on his show many times. He also resides in Westchester with 2 children, as do I. Joe Matarese is on the Virzi Effect, and we're doing this one through Skype. So he is sitting in his home, his beautiful home there in New Rochelle, New York. I don't know. Do you tell people, Joe, you live there?
Yeah.
Is that all right? Or do I have
it's
to
all
edit
right.
that out?
No, you don't have to edit that out.
All right. So what's going on, buddy?
It's going to be funny being on the Virzi Effect, but I have a microphone that's going to sound different than yours, which it'll probably sound better to your listeners. But know that that's good. Do you even want to tell your listeners?
What? Tell my listeners what?
That I'm basically recording your podcast right now and sending it over to you so we can do it this way?
Yeah, so what we're doing is I've never done a podcast. Actually, I've done Skype podcasts with Joe before, but it's been through his soundboard. But since today we're doing mine, we decided instead of him driving up, because he's got to go down towards the city later, so we figured, all right, you know what? I'll just do it like I'm doing yours, but we're going to do it the Virzi Effect style, and then you just send me the sound and I'll put it in. So this is how we're doing it.
Yeah, and basically people don't know that about Westchester, but it's so fucking big that just because you and I both live in Westchester, it doesn't mean we're near each other. You're like 45 minutes from my house.
Yeah, like other people, like if they live in the same county, it's like 8 blocks and they could be...
Hey, I'll be right over, Paul. Yeah, see you in a decade.
We're a good 45 minutes away with no traffic.
And I want to tell your listeners right at the top, I am completely mentally fried, and I hope I can deliver in this podcast. I had some writing gig, Paul.
I'm glad you wanted to come on to this one. Being fucking I love that. Hey, dude, let's do a podcast. I'm like, yeah, no doubt. Listen, by the way, dude, I got nothing.
It's true, dude.
I got nothing.
I don't know if you're like me. You and I once in a while get these like writing gigs where we have to write like roasts and stuff. You and I have done them together where you and I teamed up to write roast jokes.
I remember.
Well,
yes.
some guy. Do you know Marshall Childs?
No, I don't.
Oh, all right. He owns the Laughing Skull in Atlanta, and he started this like corporate kind of thing where he's I don't know if you would say hiring. Maybe he goes out and does them, or he has other comedians do them. But he does these corporate roasts where you go in and you roast all these people that work at some corporation, and he sends everybody that I guess agrees to get roasted at the company has to answer this like 57 question questionnaire that he sends them. And then he has all their questions, and he sends them to you as the writer and says, write me jokes on all these guys' questions. Dude,
what?
57 questions, 13 different people. It would take it almost takes an hour just to read their answers.
You know what's funny about that? And it's probably somebody getting roasted who's not famous, right?
No, it's people that work at this corporation. It's all corporate people. So their questions, when they answer, they'll be like, what is your dream day? And they're like, spending the day with my children and my wife I love.
That's what I mean. When you go, my whole point of asking that question is when you so many like people think it's like a great idea to roast a friend or to like roast, but like, and I never even understood like when comedians that aren't famous want to get roasted. It's like, I'm not going to try to be a dick and say nobody cares, but it's like, a roast should be, you could just pick somebody out and just destroy them without never having to meet them. Like if somebody said, "Hey Joe, write some roast jokes on, Taylor Swift," you would just be able to just like listen to a couple of songs, know who she is, and crush her.
Right.
Just with your comedic stuff, but I get it. But listen, money's money. Corporate gigs are corporate gigs, and people think it'd be funny to roast a friend in fucking accounting.
I think his questionnaire move is a good idea, though. Like, if it was just roast them, it would be hard. But because there's these questions, and you can just slam them. But the funny thing is I realize as I'm writing, I'm like, these sound like how I would say them. Now, some other guy's going to do it. And it's not going to be me. Like some of the ones I just wrote. I got to give you an example here. Let me pull up the file. If I could just, let's think of who I was like. Oh, well, one guy was obviously gay. It was pretty funny. Let me see if I can find him. The gay guy. I'm like, well, it's funny because I'm reading his answers to certain questions, and in my head I'm going, well, he's got to be gay. He's got to be gay. I'm just thinking that. And then I get to one of the answers, and it's like, I got fired because I was gay. And I was like, I knew it. It was just funny. Because, like, to one of his hobbies, one of them had said, what?
Blowing guys in the bathroom.
One of them was like, what sports did you? What were your hobbies as a kid? And it said playing baseball and gardening. I was like,
that's hilarious.
Oh, he's gay, and like that was one of my jokes that like all the other kids are out there, going, hey batter, 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 hey batter, batter. I go, he's sitting there over in right field going, would you look at all these dandelions? Jeez, this place needs to be fertilized. It's disgraceful. That's one of my jokes, and I'm just like. It was a fun little thing, but if I don't think I could ever be a writer, like have that be my job, because my brain is so exhausted from doing this, and it was just 3 days. I'm like, could you imagine if that was your job? You were a writer for Conan.
No,
you had to just show. You've submitted for those jobs though, right? Like
no,
Seth
I stopped. I did. Yeah, back in the day, I remember I submitted for a couple of late night shows, and it was just one of those things where my manager was sending me stuff saying, hey, they're looking for people. And even like before, like a while before Colbert got the gig, they were like, hey, Colbert's looking for people. But I got to tell you, man, when I wrote for that, I was in a writer's room just a couple of days for that AOL Originals show. And although I was with friends and had fun, I remember just sitting there, and I remember just being like, wow, man, even when you make good money and you're writing for a show that's either popular or whatever, it really is like that 9 to 5, dude. Like, I'm a comic that's just not built for it. I'm just really not. Like, I need that. For me, work is going to the airport and dealing with the travel to get to my hotel to do my gig. Like, that's, other than that, like sitting in a room. Like, and the first hour is fun because you're like, hey, what about this? What about that? And then all of a sudden, people are like, all right, we're going to get lunch and we got to get back in the office. It's like, fuck this, dude.
Yeah. As a comedian, your natural tendency is to not come back from lunch. Like, that's just, if you don't want to come back from lunch, comedy was the correct choice as your career.
Yeah, and I always, and I don't want to be disrespectful or insensitive to people with day jobs, but the whole idea of getting an hour for lunch or you get in trouble, to me, is fucking crazy. Like, there's such a, it just seems very much like, I don't know, like you're caged, like,
yeah. And I think because we have wives and kids, something can trick you. Because let's face it, I mean, I could give you a number out there for your listeners. If a guy gets a starting writing monologue writer for, say, Conan or Jimmy Fallon or something like that, it's over $3,000 a week. It might be $4,500 a week. So you get that number in your head. I immediately multiply it by how many weeks are in a year instantly, and I'm like, wow, that's good money. Wow, I wouldn't have to worry about my mortgage. Oh my God. Yeah, but then all of a sudden I guess I'm finally at a good point in my career because I'm finally able to go, I didn't get into this for a fucking job where I have to go in at the same exact time every day. I asked my manager, I go, what are the hours? He's like, I don't know, you probably get in at 9 and you're done at 7. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Can you imagine using your brain to write and you got to write about 50 jokes, 60, 75 jokes in a day?
Yeah, no, you know what it comes down to too? I think people that are really serious about the art don't get into it for the money. And I think when you don't get into comedy for the money, it's easier to say no. If you get into comedy for the money, then the art is second.
Right.
You know, and if the art is second, then sure. Yeah, let me get a show. Let me write. I don't care. I got into this to make money, and that's very rare. I don't think anybody in their right mind goes, I'm going to start doing stand-up because I want to for the money. You know what I mean? I think that the money is a byproduct of getting great and getting better at it. So, no, but I'm with you 100%. So,
and the last thing is the benefit of writing your jokes when you're a comedian is to get up and perform them, and that feeling we get when they work is like an amazing euphoric feeling. I just spent 3 days writing these, and some other person who I don't even know is going to go do them, and there's no way he's going to be able to, like what I just said to you. I can't imagine some other guy saying that funny. I don't know why.
Oh, you mean that with the gay guy?
Like I said, you got to. I want a video. I want to see whoever's going to do it. I mean, I spent 14 hours. Like, that doesn't sound like, my brother goes, that's not a lot of time. I go, dude, when you're a comedian that has his own podcast, you're going on Paul Virzi's podcast too. Then you're going on Artie Lang's podcast. And then you went on Nick DiPaolo's. I mean,
you got 2 kids.
I got 2 kids. I've been on like 9 podcasts. I had to do morning radio this morning too. I had to do some phoner to promote some gig in Ridgefield, Connecticut tomorrow night. I'm like,
by the way, do you know where you're going to be in Ridgefield, Connecticut is 5 minutes from my house?
Is it really?
Yeah, that Ridgefield Playhouse is like literally 5 minutes. Like, you're going to be 4 miles from my house tomorrow night. I was actually going to do that gig with Bobby Kelly, and I got changed. I went on a tour. It was when we did the Midwest tour with Burr and Bartnick. And I wanted to do the Ridgefield Playhouse, but I heard it's awesome, and it's literally because when you make a right out of where I'm living at, like I'm a few miles from the Connecticut border.
You go by the Bull and you make a right, and you're there.
No, the Bull's on the top. I'm at the bottom.
Oh.
I'm down on the bottom.
I've been to the Ridgefield Playhouse a couple times. I've opened for Artie Lang there twice. It's amazing.
Okay.
The place is beautiful.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that sometime. But that's funny.
I'll be really honest on your podcast. I've been doing this lately. I just burn bridges for myself on people's podcasts because I just don't care. Yeah. But I got some really shitty deal on this Ridgefield Playhouse gig. Right, some comic booked me, and I didn't know it was the Ridgefield Playhouse when he booked me. He just calls me and goes, "It's a theater in Connecticut." I'm like, "All right," and he gives me a money amount. Okay. I'll take it. Then, like 2 weeks later, he sends me the flyer for the show, and he has a title for the show. He's calling it three of Dave's favorites, and he picked 3 comedians that have all done Letterman. Now, already, he never told me that when he booked me. I'm like, now you're theming it? Okay, it's got a theme, and then I see Ridgefield Playhouse, and I go, dude, I've been trying to do my own show at the Ridgefield Playhouse. Why didn't you tell me that when you booked me? Now I can't go do it myself.
Oh boy.
And then he's like, he's like, can you do a lot of promo for the gig? Can you go on podcasts, social media, blah blah blah? I go, well, what do I get if like we do well? And he goes, dude, I'm gonna throw some incentive in for you. I swear to God. He goes, if you can sell out 500 seats, I'll give you an extra $100. I swear to God, that's the number he says. I go, dude, do you know how much a comedian makes if he can sell out 500 seats in a theater? I'll give you a guess, and this is like a low guy, not like a Bill Burr and Artie Lang. Like this is just like not a guy like me or you, Paul. How much would you expect to make if you sold out 500 seats? What would you expect?
More than 100.
How much would be your total take for the gig?
Oh man, that's a hard thing to say because it depends what's the price at the door and all that shit.
Well, we can guess. You and I, we probably, what do we charge? 25 to 30. That's the most we could probably charge, and people would pay it. They're not paying 50 to see you and I. It's a fact.
Well, I mean, I'm not at a level where I'm going to go into a theater and pack it out for $50 yet. So
no, that's what I'm saying. So say we make the ticket $25. Let's do them. Like, that was my joke to my agent. I go, do they not know comedians know how to do math? I can do math. I have a calculator on my iPhone. $25 a ticket times 500.
Right.
$10 a ticket's 5,000.
Yeah.
$20 a ticket's 10,000.
Well, maybe this person doesn't understand, though. Like,
He's
it
a
sounds
comedian.
like the person doesn't understand.
He's a comedian. But this is what he didn't understand. I go, dude, for $100.
Is he one of the comedians on the show?
Yes. He's hosting it. He goes, I go, dude, for $100, I don't want to be a dick. I go, I can't go anywhere and promote that. Do you understand? A comedian has other gigs. So if I go and promote the Ridgefield Playhouse, that if I sell out, I get an extra 100. Now they're not going to come to my show February 13th. That is the one that I am making a lot of money if they come to. Do you see how it's like it's a juggling act? Like, why I'm on your podcast right now is I'm promoting a theater that I'm doing in Haddon Township, New Jersey on February 13th. Like, that's why I'm here. That's the one that they're not giving me $100.
Just so people know, Joe Matarese, like, he gets to this honest point where
you bring it out of me, Paul.
No, you are one of these guys. I've never seen anything.
You've already said this on your podcast.
Have I?
Yeah.
Or
where I'll say something honest about my wife and how I want to fuck her friend or something like that on a podcast.
No, just like, no, but even at a, we might have talked about it on your podcast, but excuse me, like, you'll be at a show and like the owner and booker will be standing in the room and you'll be like, why is it, who would light something like this?
I don't do that anymore. For years I did that. For years.
Oh, you stopped that?
No. That's when you and I talk about I take antidepressants. I don't even know what you take, but it made me not do that anymore. I don't overly worry.
You don't worry about what's going on? Okay,
no, I used to. I used to bad. I would change the sound, the lights. Dude, there were times where I'd ask for a ladder. A ladder. What comedian goes, can you get me a ladder so we can angle the light a little differently? Like, that's
I take
insane.
You don't work at those places anymore.
No, they would get pissed.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so basically that gig, if I sold it out, should probably pay $8,000 to $10,000. That's what a comedian should probably walk away with. Just know, comedians out there, if they listen to the Virzi Effect, you sell out 500 seats at $25 a ticket, you should probably make 80% of the ticket price. I
mean, you should definitely be making more than 100.
100 bonus. Even
Jesus.
comedy clubs will give you 500 for a sellout. They'll throw you usually 500.
So did you guys sell out the Playhouse? Is it sold out?
Oh no, this was hilarious. He contacts me and he goes, yeah, the ticket sales are low. And I'm like, no fucking kidding, dude. I'm not promoting this anywhere. This is a secret. You're lucky I'm saying it on the Virzi Effect.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I said, well, this is the part that sucks for me. What if I want to go do the Ridgefield Playhouse in a couple of years? And they're going to remember that we didn't sell tickets tonight. And who are they going to blame? They're going to think I'm not a draw. They're not going to know that guy gave me a shitty deal. They're not going to know that.
Right.
I'm fucked. I got to tell them when I get to the theater, listen, there's 80 people here because there was a $100 bonus if I sold
funny.
it
You
out.
get there, you just start prefacing, like you preface the night by like, hey, listen, it's bad, not because of me.
Yeah, it's me, Moody McCarthy, and Adrian Appalucci. And Adrian texted me too, and she's like, is he asking you to promote like crazy? He's mad at me. He said he's mad.
Oh,
the
this
theater's
is Moody?
mad. It's Moody and Adrian. Adrian was texting me that. Adrian Appalucci.
But Moody's the one who's putting it together.
No way. No, Moody's the greatest. We're the three comedians on it. There's a fourth comedian who's hosting it. I'm not going to say his name.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say Moody's the greatest.
No, he's the best. Moody's low key.
Yeah. Okay. So you, Moody, and Adrian, that's a great lineup. You guys are on the show, and there's another comedian who booked it and put it together, and he's the one hosting it, and he's the one having you guys, he's the one giving the bad incentive, and he's the one having you guys go crazy to promote it.
Yeah, all he had to do is pay us a normal amount, and he should have called us in advance saying, I'm going to put the three of you guys together for this Letterman thing. I'm going to say it's Dave's favorites. This is what he should have said at the beginning before he even found the place. And I'm going to bring it into the Ridgefield Playhouse. What kind of deal you think we should make with them? He should have been out in the open, and I would have said, ask for this, and then here's the next stage. If you sell 300 seats, you get this. If you get 400 seats, you get this. And a sellout, you get you get a big kickback. Make that deal. Then we're on social media. I'm plugging it everywhere. I'm going to drive to radio stations. He wanted me to drive to New Haven to do radio. I go, dude, that'll cost me $100 in gas. What are you talking about? There's no way. Unless you gave me an insane flat fee.
I just don't understand how somebody could say, here's what I'll give you, another 100. Like, that's so insulting that it tells me that the person doesn't know, though.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't.
No, that's what I mean.
Know.
Like, I don't think
he's not mean and cheap. He's clueless.
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it sounds like to me the guy you're talking about just doesn't know. Like, I mean, to say to a comedian, here's what I'll do for you. If we sell it out with 500, I'll give you an extra 100. Like, anybody else would just hang up the fucking phone.
No,
like,
I actually believe this guy that he didn't know, and that they're not going to give him much money for a sellout. Like, he didn't know that that he should have asked for more. He hasn't. I do believe that.
Well, what does Letterman think? I mean, he's the one who says you guys are his favorites. If Letterman do anything, he's in Connecticut.
That would be if Norm Macdonald was on the gig. That would be his opening 5 minutes.
Oh yeah,
he's like, I don't even know Dave liked me. I mean,
yeah, that's hilarious. That's
I'm his favorite. It took me 7 years to get a rebooking.
So wait, the theater. So that's the theater seats. I thought it was bigger than 500. It's only a 500 seater.
I think it's 500, 550 maybe.
So it must look small then. It's like.
It's intimate, but it doesn't. It's tiered. It has 2 tiers. It's very nice. It's almost, if you've been, it's 5 minutes from your house. It almost looks like you're not at a theater. It looks like they built it onto a school or something.
Okay.
And that town's really nice, Richfield.
No, that's we go there a lot. So yeah, that's
plugging the shit out of the wrong gig.
That's hilarious.
I need the February 13th Ritz Theater at the Haddon Township, New Jersey. That's the one I'm really plugging.
I already see
JoeMatarese.com for tickets for that. That's the one I got to sell out.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, let's talk about that one. Which one is that now?
That's only 350 seats, and I had an article come out today in the newspaper that is big down in South Jersey where I grew up, and hopefully that helps sell it out.
And this is February 13th?
Yeah.
All right, February 13th. If you guys, any of my listeners are in that area, make sure you go down and see Joe. Joe is hilarious. You'll have a great time. The last time I was in South Jersey, the last time I was down that way, me, you, and Burr had arguably, I mean, in my opinion, I've been fortunate enough to be involved in some pretty amazing and epic shows, but I got to tell you, man, this was right up there. That Wells Fargo was right up there with, in my opinion, I actually got to be honest. I had more fun at Wells Fargo than I did at the Garden, only because there were definitely, like, the Garden started going off great, and then there were some sound issues. But dude, Wells Fargo, we had what a night that was. 10,000 plus. That was insane, dude.
It was my first time going to a cigar bar also, and smoking a cigar and drinking a little bourbon, and with you and Bill and Bill's manager. That was, and then we went and got cheesesteaks afterwards. Like, I'm at the. You're still a younger comedian than me, so you're like the gig, and I'm like talking about what we did after it. Like, that's...
No, what we did after was great. That cigar bar was really nice. I totally forgot that we were on a mission to get a cheesesteak, and I remember my stomach being a mess after that.
Well, I remember. Somebody I'm friends with texted me, said Burr talked about you on his podcast about the Wells Fargo show. So I went and listened, and I don't even remember this. He said that you and I were like falling down drunk walking into the cheesesteak place, and we were talking loud about people, and he was like getting embarrassed and saying that he was sober. I'm like, I don't remember him having did we drink more than him?
Yeah, no, I think he stopped drinking, or me and you had a couple of more. typical married guys trying to get in the last licks. And so me and you had a little more, but I think what we were doing is it was just filled with all these fucking animals in there. It was a shit show. It was like 2:00 in the morning. There was a huge line. I think somebody had their kid in there. Like, it was just a mess. And me and you were like clearly going like, look at this guy or like this guy. And there was a guy being really loud. And Bill was like, dude, you guys got to shut up, man. I don't want to get, you guys, we're going to get our asses kicked. But no, he did talk about you, dude. You killed that night. I remember you were really nice when you got on stage and you addressed me killing on stage. And then you fucking killed. And then Bill came up and killed. And it was just like, and the funny thing was, the whole I feel like I have a connection with Philly now because of that. Because, everybody was kind of like, wow, this is Philly. It's in an arena. There's over 10,000 people for a comedy show. It started almost 40 minutes late. And those people in that building could not have been. It was almost like, could you imagine like going into Philly, 10,000 people, and when you're in a setup, they were quiet as can be? It was amazing, dude. It was fucking amazing.
I still remember you and I were backstage waiting to go out, and you made me write down like an exact script of how I was going to be the voice of God backstage and introduce the beginning of the show, and everything you said was like dead on.
Yeah, and you know why I did that? Because we would go to shows on the road, me, Lawhead, Bartnick, Bill, and all of these beautiful theaters would go, hey, do you guys have somebody to announce? And I would never go up first. It would be usually Lawhead, and Lawhead loved to do it because he always, like, Lawhead's dream job was to be the guy at basketball games, being like, good evening, or like call a basketball game.
I would love to do that too.
Oh, dude, Lawhead would come out. I swear to God, he took it so seriously, Joe. He'd be like, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Chicago Theater. Tonight, we are proud to present Bill Burr. And then they would all fucking, I'm doing it exactly like him. And then they would all laugh. And then he would go like, he would be like, Bill brought, some of his favorite comics and friends here tonight and blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like, first. And he would just fucking give you this, like, he's blah, 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 or this and that. Or like, he would announce himself. Mm-hmm. So he'd be like, he's known as one of the tailgate, Rose Bowl tailgate legends. Keep it going for Jason Law. And he would do this whole thing. And it would be fucking amazing, right? He would do it for himself. So then we would go to gigs where, like, if somebody didn't want to do that, some, like, fucking stage guy would just be like, all right, guys, your first guy coming out. And it was just fucking.
It sucked.
So I learned. So when we were out there and Wells Fargo didn't have a guy and you didn't want to go, or you were like, you had family, you wanted to go like in the middle of the show or whatever, or, because especially in your hometown, going out there. So you were like, you go, and I was like, all right, then can you announce me? And you were like, yeah. And then I was like, all right, so this is what I've learned, and it nailed it.
Dude, you nailed it. I still remember the moment. I'm trying to think the exact script, but it was something like what you just said when you were doing Bartnick, where I went, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wells Fargo Center. It was like one of those. The Wells Fargo Center is proud to present Bill Burr. And it was like, they went like it was like I said AC/DC. It was like so cool. And it wasn't too high end. Like, I don't like when a guy goes on stage and he's like, are you guys ready to party? Like, I don't like that. Like, what you said was better. Like, the basketball announcer is a great comparison.
Yes, you had a nice medium where it's not like Bartnick did it at the Garden, and it sounded like he was bringing out Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, but he actually did it good, though. No, the way he did it was good. He just had to be loud because it was so big. But the craziest thing about Wells Fargo, I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you do, but, you kind of stay more stationary on stage than I do. But I remember being up there and, like, kind of stalking the stage, going back and forth like I do. And at one point, I just looked up to the right, and it was like 3 decks, like up where the luxury boxes were. And I saw somebody's silhouette in a shadow so far away, yet still paying attention. And that's when I was like, this is really cooler than I thought it would be. Because, you think an arena is going to be a shit show and not be. But it really is, like, if you get people that are really into comedy, and they just were. And I think that that's a testament to Bill's crowds. But, I mean, the cool thing is me, you, and Bill will share that as one of the greatest, like I said, man, that in the Garden. but I had more fun because Philly didn't have any sound issues. Like, it was just amazing.
Oh, I loved it.
And your family was there. Like, like your family was there. Like my family was at the Garden. Like my mom, one of the coolest things was like my mom saying to me, I'm glad, because my mom was sick and thank God because of medicine, she's all right. But she's like saying like, I'm glad I was alive to see that. Like when you do a gig like that, like your mom and dad, I remember you telling me before the show, you're like, yeah, my mom, my dad, my brother, they're all here. And it's just like watching you.
In the third tier, too. That's what was funny. They were in the third tier. They were way up there.
Hilarious. That's hilarious.
My mom and dad actually told me, this almost like gave me the chills and like made me tear up a little. They told me they high-fived each other at the end of my set. Like it must have been one of those moments where they're like, please don't fucking bomb. Please don't fucking bomb. And like it went well. Because like
they high-fived after? Yeah, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, like, because I have a son who's playing sports now, and it's similar. It's like I go to his basketball game, and I'm just like, if he makes one fucking shot, my wife and I are going to, like, hug each other for an hour.
Dude, I almost puked before Lucas's first T-ball at bat. I swear to God, dude, when my son got up for T-ball for the first time, my heart was jacked up. I was more nervous for that than performing in a gig. Like it was just like a busy gig, like walking in. Like I had the same, like if you walk into a 500-seater and everybody's there to see you, I wasn't as nervous as my son being on deck. And the shitty kid before him, like hit it, you know what I mean? And then my son just goes up, and I'm hoping to God he remembers how to swing it and to keep his eye on the tee. And the coach, like, and it was just like, and then I remember he made contact with his first swing ever, and he was just running to first, and I was so happy. So I couldn't imagine watching your parents, my parents at the Garden, watching your child walk out in a legendary arena in front of tens of thousands of people, and they have to be funny.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So that's the life we chose, I guess. But no, it was awesome.
It actually, there was an article that came out in the Courier Post today to promote my February 13th gig, and it was referenced in the article.
Oh, that's awesome.
This guy wrote an amazing article, and I didn't even realize how much like Rocky is a theme. Like I didn't realize that I'm becoming like the Rocky comedian or something. And he connected Rocky through the whole article, and he had different pictures.
Oh, that's
of
right
me.
Up your alley too.
Yeah, he had, and we sent him all these pictures of me like on the steps, the Rocky steps, and then me at the Philly stadium, and then me eating like a Geno's Steaks, like a cheesesteak, and the whole Rocky thing, and I just lost my train of thought. But it was cool because, like I said, he referenced it in the article, the Wells Fargo Center thing, and it was amazing. And like what you said earlier, I feel like people will remember me, and it's weird they do. They'll if you go to Philly and you promote something, you got to mention that you did that, because they'll go, oh, I remember that. They'll remember, and they'll come and see you because of that.
I couldn't imagine what it's like for you, because even for me, before the Garden and even after the Garden, people were like, wow, man, I heard about your Philly set. I heard about the Wells Fargo. I think so many people heard it. And I'm in New York. I mean, you're a Cherry Hill kid. So, I mean, that's like 6 miles away from Philly. And I could only imagine, like, when I did the Garden, I had people like friends and family and people from high school that I haven't seen in like 17 years, and people just going, wow, I'm at the Garden, good luck. And it's just because it's actually bigger. Like, I don't think of it like that. We don't think of it like that because to us it's just a gig. It's just a bigger gig.
Can I ask you a question? Did you have an ad-lib at the beginning of your set anywhere that referenced the connection of New York and you and where you lived or anything about anything?
Yeah, well, what I said when I first got on stage, I said, this is amazing to be here at MS. I remember my first bit. It was my first laugh. I said, it's amazing to be here at MSG. This is incredible. I said, I'm from New York. And I said, so to be at Madison Square Garden is amazing. I said, last night I performed for 19 people in Queens, which I did. And that got like my first laugh. But I definitely referenced being at the Garden and being a New Yorker and stuff like that. And one of the coolest things ever was after my second or third joke hit, all of my jokes hit. And I remember after my third joke, this was before the sound issue, ironically, but I remember after the third one, I just go, oh my God, I'm killing the Garden right now. I remember that in my mind. And then all of a sudden there were rumblings of like sound, like it was a couple things, but I just stayed the course, and I told you the whole thing. It was like I was maneuvering and working and nobody really knew, but the jokes did hit and everything worked out. But yeah, no, it's pretty fucking amazing to walk out on that stage. You know what was cool is when me, you, and Bill did the sound check at Wells Fargo. That was the first time any of us, or I don't know about you, but that was the first time for me. That was the first time where I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm doing a sound check in an arena, in a basketball arena. Yeah. And like just hearing the sound. Remember? I
tweeted out, we videoed for like 20 seconds and I tweeted it. I tweeted it out. It looks cool.
Said something into the microphone. It was so loud here. Yeah. It was like, holy shit, man. So that's this is definitely cool to reminisce about it. But so I wanted to, you know what I'm going to do, because we're 40 minutes in and you have somewhere to be. I'm going to make this. This is going to be I'm going to do 2 parts of my podcast.
Okay. So whatever you want to do.
This will be one part with Joe Matarese that I'll just upload this and do a separate one here. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things. And everybody go see Joe February 13th. Where is it, Joe, exactly?
It is called the Ritz Theater. It's in Haddon Township, New Jersey. And all they have to do to buy tickets to it, and it is the Saturday before Valentine's Day. So if you're anywhere in that area, or you want to make a trip out of it and stay overnight with your girlfriend or your wife, hotels are cheap down there. You get a hotel for like nothing. Come and check it out. Go to joematarese.com, and there's a link. There's like 2 links right on the main page where you can buy tickets to that show. February 13th, Haddon Township, Ritz Theater.
All right, so you know what I'll do with you here is we'll talk. What would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 with your NFL football watching and knowledge? Where are you at in a 1 to 10? Where are you? Because actually, I thought you were less of a sports guy than you really are. You're more than I think people would think, especially like we've talked NFL. I know you're a big-time Philadelphia Eagles fan. But where are you at? You're probably like at a 7, right? 6 or a 7 NFL? Or would you say like a 5?
Well, it depends on whose podcast I'm on. On Artie Lang's podcast, they always shit on me that like I don't know nearly as much. But like Artie's a savant. He knows an insane amount. Yeah, My brother knows an insane amount. My brother makes fun of me like because he'll be like, do you have a fucking TV? How do you not fucking know this? Like... I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, the fucking Philly news doesn't come through in New York immediately. I didn't know hour 1 that Jimmy Rollins got traded to the Dodgers. It took me a couple days. Like, leave me alone. Like,
yeah. No, some guys are a little like those fantasy guys are a little. That's even more than me. But the NFL is such an amazing. It really is like the NFL, like. The amount of women that watch the NFL, like the NFL football is insane. And did you watch the NFC and AFC championship games?
Yeah, I watched both games. I would say compared to you, I'm probably a 6 or 7. You're probably a 10 or a 9 or a 10. You know a lot more than me.
I'm not NFL wise. I think I'm good NFL wise, but all around sports, like I got to knock some points off of me because I just know nothing about hockey. So like I can't.
I'm talking football.
Oh, if we're just talking football, yeah, I'm probably close to a 10 if you're talking NFL, except minus the fantasy. I don't do fantasy, but I don't know, dude. I think, I'll do my official pick, obviously, next week before the Super Bowl, but a preliminary pick right here. How do you bet against Carolina because of from top to fucking bottom?
You can't. We were talking about this last night at the comic strip because I this is the show, my shitty knowledge. I was trying to say, and I thought I was making a great point.
That's hilarious.
That Cam Newton shouldn't have done that crazy dive for the touchdown where he did the flip. I go, he's your fucking marquee player, and you must be like, And then Vic Henley just cut right in, and he goes, man, I watched him play at Auburn. He goes, that guy's 6'6", 250. He ain't getting hurt. If he goes in the air and flies and does a flip, you're going to get hurt if he lands on you, but he's fine. And I was just like, I didn't realize I'm such an idiot. I didn't know the guy was 6'6", 250.
I actually argued with somebody, and I said he was 6'6". He's not 6'6".
6'5".
Yeah, I think he's like 6'4", 2 something. Either way, he's gigantic.
He's huge.
But here's the thing. Denver's defense is the best in the league, and when they penetrated the offensive line of the Patriots, Tom Brady's running for his life, but Tom Brady's not mobile. If you penetrate Cam Newton, he's gonna find a lane, and that guy's gonna run. I'm telling you right now, I think that guy could run for 75, 100 yards rushing in this game because he just can break down a defense. I hope not. I'm gonna be honest. I would love to see Peyton Manning's last game ever kind of go out like Elway. You know, he's lost already 2 Super Bowls and won 1. This would tie him with his brother, and it would be a great exit. I got to be honest, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Carolina's defense is slightly under the Broncos, but still insane. And look, Cam Newton, man, he can make a throw. He could run. You got to love. And I think Vegas has the odds at like –
what are they?
I think the spread right now was it you know what? I'll tell you right now what the spread is, but I think it's moved up. It opened at 4. Hold on one second. It opened at 4. I'll tell you right now what it is, but my guess right now, what do you say? My guess right now is I'm going to say Carolina -6. What do you think?
I'm trying to remember what last year's Super Bowl went off at. Do you have any idea? What was the point spread on that one? It was like 4?
It was Patriots.
Or was it a pick'em?
No, it wasn't a pick. I don't think it was a pick'em. I think it was like oh my God, was it?
I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I'm forgetting.
It was low if there was a spread.
All right, here we go right here. NFL odds. It is 3. So the Panthers are favored by 3 right now. Wow, I thought it would be more just because, you know, wow. See, that means that means that Denver's D, people think Denver's D could do. Their D was insane. You know, but Brady can't run. Brady runs like he's got shit in his pants, and this guy is an animal. So
he runs a lot better than the Eagles quarterback did. Jesus,
Bradford.
Bradford was he might have been the worst running quarterback in Philly history. It was like he was wearing cement boots. It was like, I don't know. I didn't like the way he moved around.
He ran like he was holding a microwave and trying to keep it level.
Whose line is that? Yours?
Yeah,
that's hilarious. That's perfect. That's perfect. I'm not even touching that.
So I like Carolina, but it's funny that it's only 3. Now, here's the other thing that I was talking about. I got into an argument with Burr about this, and I'll bring this up to you. I'm into these. I'm not going to get into movies now because we're almost at 50 minutes here. But I was watching. There's a documentary on Netflix called Champs. And it kind of talks about Bernard Hopkins, Mike Tyson, and all this stuff. And then there's clips, things that I haven't seen of Mike Tyson, like from 17 to 20 years old when he was training up in the Catskills under Customato. And he was such an absolute, like, Joe, do you like the YouTube clips of him knocking people out? But when he was like training to be in the Olympics, he was knocking guys that were 6'5", 6'6" out, cold, feet coming off the canvas so fast. So then there's a YouTube clip of what they would think would happen if he fought Ali, right? Now, Ali fought Frazier 3 times. Frazier only beat him once. But Tyson and Frazier from Philly, they're built the same, but Tyson was so much faster. So my initial thing was this. Ali's the greatest of all time. I truly believe that. And I felt as though he's a smarter fighter than Tyson, and he would frustrate Tyson. And once it went on past the 4th or 5th round, he would have his number and beat him, kind of the way Evander Holyfield did. But I changed my tune. I think from 87, 88, in his prime, when he would come out and just throw haymakers that were so fast and nuts, I think he would have caught Ali and knocked him out early. I think if they fought 10 times, Ali would beat him 8. But I do think Tyson would catch him and knock him out. Tyson was do you remember watching Tyson when you were – you got to remember those pay-per-views that went 30 seconds.
Oh, of course I did. That's right in my when I was starting stand-up probably, like an 18, 19-year-old. I can remember I think I was in the Caribbean. I remember doing some gig when he fought Michael Spinks. That was
91 seconds, yeah.
And that one was hilarious. And I thank God, I think – because we were comedians, we didn't have to pay like $30 to get into the bar to watch the game. They like let us come in for free, and it was just funny watching. I used to love when Tyson would get really close to a guy and then throw that uppercut that you couldn't see him even throw it, and you just like, why'd the guy fall down? And then they'd slow it down. They're like, oh, he fucked him up. He just swung with an uppercut that was invisible.
It was so fast, and that's the thing. Some big guy would just slow down and drop, and it would look like he got shot from somebody in the upper deck. Like, they would be fighting, and the guy would just go limp.
Yeah.
Dude, but you got to watch. There's one thing, and for anybody that likes like documentaries or sports, it's on Netflix. It's called Champs, and there's a clip of him just hitting the bag, and you're going, oh my, this guy, it was a killing machine. It was one of the most insane things I've ever seen. And his first title fight, he went up against this dude who was like 6'5", gigantic. The guy had the belt, and in no time, he was just knocking him around the ring like he was a pinball. It was unbelievable, dude. But
and what also I liked about Tyson is he was fun to listen to after a fight.
Oh,
like
God.
a lot of these athletes now, they're just no one's exciting, when they're just talking. Like those are always my favorite athletes. Like John McEnroe, fucking losing his shit. I used to love watching shit like that. And Tyson, I still remember. Do you remember? I'm trying to think which fight it was. They interviewed him afterwards, and he just goes, he was making little woman noises in there. He was going, ooh, ooh, every time I snapped one of his ribs. I still remember that.
I loved when he goes, I broke my back. And Jim Gray goes, what? Like, you mean like, he goes, yeah, it's spinal. And like, so he was Jim Gray or somebody goes, you mean like in the vertebrae? Like something happened? He goes, it was spinal. But dude, he was basically fighting with a crack in his spine, and he was just like. But no, that's a really good point that you say that, because when I was watching the documentary, nobody talked as candidly, as honest as Tyson. Even after, even when he told what's his name, when he said this isn't in my heart anymore. He goes, remember, he was just like, he lost for like the third time in a row. It was at the end of his career. And he goes, listen, I'm fighting for a paycheck. This isn't in my heart anymore. I'm done. But it was just like, not a lot of guys would say that. A lot of guys would just be like, and just move on. But he was just one of those guys that had that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And like I heard in his one-man show, which did really good, the one-man show that he was doing in Vegas for a while, people said it was amazing, where he was talking about how he's like, listen, I should be in jail for a lot of things, but rape is not one of them. And he was just talking about, and even like he was candid in an interview where he was like, yeah, I did 3 years as an innocent man, and I really was. And he just has that honest vulnerability where, like, he even says, he goes, dude, I was a savage. I did awful things. Like, he really shit on. He called himself, he's like, I grew up in a place where nobody should see you grow up, and I did awful things. I feel like that guy is the type of person that would, like, admit it. Like, he's just that crazy.
Right.
And you know what I mean? And he was just like, I didn't do it. But no, I like what you said about that, Joe, because I was thinking about that. Not too many guys you see. A lot of great people and great athletes, they're like robots in the interview. Like A-Rod. Yeah, he gave me a good pitch, and we're just happy to get this one. And they always kind of say shit like that, where it's like, even as great as Jeter was, Jeter never gave you – I like the guys that gave you, like – that nutty kind of real thing, and you're like, wow, this is a real dude.
Well, you got to compare it to stand-up comedy. It's the same way. Comedians, if you get a little crazy now, you're like, there's people tweeting, oh my God, it made me uncomfortable. Yeah, like there were. We grew up in a time where like fucking who was it? Was it Joe? Yeah, Joe Namath is drunk on Monday Night Football saying he wants to make out with the girl.
I was at that game.
Like, you don't see that shit. Everybody's too protected. You don't see the crazy like person doing some crazy shit right on TV. Like you said, like Tyson. I'm trying to think who else is just like fucking
when
nuts.
Tyson said in the conference, it was in the documentary, he said in a press conference when he completely had a meltdown and lost his shit, he grabbed his dick, pointed at the guy, and said, I'm going to fuck you in the ass until you love me, faggot. He said, I'm going to fuck you in the ass, white boy. And he said, I'll fuck, the thing he said, I want to eat his children. And like, I mean, those were the ones that went like a little overboard. Like Kanye West is doing that now, where I saw a tweet where Kanye West said he's the greatest to ever contribute to the music. Like he said he's literally the greatest to ever create music. Like he's like on a level of that. He said, he also said, what's that thing Burr said in his bit? Burr said in his joke, he said his one regret is that he'll never be able to see himself perform live. He said that he's the greatest. He's better than the beat. What did he say? He said, he said he's the greatest to ever create music. Like when it gets to that level, I don't mean that. I just mean a guy who's like, yeah, whatever. I fucked up. I thought I could do this. It's stupid. Like I like guys like that. Yeah. The vulnerable honesty. But going back to what I said, I watched a clip of Ali throwing his hands. He's the only heavyweight that I've ever seen throw like a lightweight. That's how fast he was. That fight would have been fascinating. Here's what I would love to see if I had a time machine. Taking Tyson in 87 or 88 in a time machine to Ali's prime and letting those two just go at it would be unbelievably fascinating. Because I'm urging everybody, whether you listen to my show or if you listen to Fixing Joe, do yourself a favor and YouTube Mike Tyson knockouts and Mike Tyson in his prime and just watch this guy throw punches that it's like, dude, if it hit me and you, we're dead or coma. Coma, just body going limp, dead.
Yeah, I remember that being that was the hacky I've fallen and I can't get up joke of the mid 80s was about how people said, I'll fight Tyson if you're going to pay me $10 million. He's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to even fucking count your money because you're going to be brain dead. Like, that was like the hacky joke.
Oh, that was the hacky joke.
Yeah, every comedian had it.
What year did you start doing stand-up?
89, like 89, 90.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you started in the 80s. I started... The first time I ever did a set, I did an open mic in Woodstock, New York at a bar in 99, but I was getting up like barely once every 2, you know what I mean? Barely getting up. So like I haven't started going hard probably until like 03 is when I kind of started to go like, you know, hard. So you probably like 13 years as a pro, but yeah, man, I didn't realize you started in the 80s. So you must have saw a lot of guys. You must have saw a lot of guys in New York City that moved to L.A. or, you know, stuff like that. That just like you saw you started almost in the boom.
Well, kinda. I'm trying to remember if I ever had a Mike Tyson joke. You got me thinking now. Here's what everybody had in the late 80s just from me watching like Evening at the Improv and certain things. There was always an OJ joke. There was always OJ was in the early 90s, but there was always an OJ joke. There was always a Michael Jackson joke. Yeah.
Like if I think of hack jokes that should never be talked about again, I think OJ and Michael Jackson. Those two, just you cannot touch them anymore.
I definitely had something hacky about Tyson and his voice not matching his body size. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to.
I think it was something like even Michael Jackson. I made it doubly hack. I said even Michael Jackson was at home going, what a fag. Something like that. That was like the joke. Michael Jackson called him a fag.
And did it crush?
Oh, probably, yeah. I go, his voice is so high, only dogs could hear it. Something like that.
Oh, that's great.
That's
cool. What was the first comedy club you ever did in New York City?
In New York City?
Ever. Your first New York City comedy show ever. Mine was New York Comedy Club under Al Martin, which, by the way, under the new guy Emilio is amazing right now. It's amazing.
Yeah, I like that place.
Have you seen it? Oh, you said you saw it.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's nice.
Yes. I was there last night. It was awesome.
Did you hear they opened a comedy club in Yonkers? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Me too. Yeah, I'm doing it in March. I'm excited, dude. It's 7 minutes from my house.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, what the hell did you just ask me?
First comedy club in New York ever.
I think I did one of those bringer shows, like where you bring people.
Yeah, that's what I did. I had to bring 3 people to New York Comedy Club.
I think I didn't even live in New York. That's what was funny. How am I supposed to? I had to like get people from Cherry Hill to come to New York. I think I did stand up New York with just comedians were my bringers. I had brought 3 comedians and paid their covers. And then the first time I did like a bigger show was like those bringer shows at Caroline's where they would videotape you. And I brought all my Cherry Hill friends and family, made them come all the way up. This is classic. You just made me remember this. You know that shell game they play on the streets in New York?
Yeah, like you mean like
what do you
3
call
cards?
It? The 3-card Monty?
Yeah.
My brother, being such a suburb kid, let's see, if I was 24, he's 9 years younger. I mean, he was like a teenager. And he came with my parents. And I think they asked him to go put money in the meter. And when he went out there, they were playing 3-card Monty. And he was just standing watching. This shows you New York. And the guy says to my brother out of nowhere, he just looks back and goes, which one do you think it's under? And he's like, I'm not playing. God, just guess. I'll let you guess. I'm not going to, you don't have to play. Just guess. And my brother goes, that one, the second one. The guy goes, you're right. You win. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm not playing. You win. All you have to do is put money down, and then you win. And he had my fucking wallet because I just gave him my wallet. I go put money in the meter.
That's a great story.
He takes all the cash out of my wallet and throws it down on the Monty. I think like $50.
Oh.
And the guy just grabs the 50. They had like a box set up with the game on it. And they just grab the box, grab my money, and just fucking run down the street. Take all my brother was like, yeah, I lost it. I lost your $50. I hadn't even been on stage yet. I'm doing a bringer, and I'm down 50. Thanks.
I remember I did a 3-person. You had to bring 3 people. That guy Steve Aarons, and I told people they told me I'd go on at 9. I ended up going on at 11. And they would all bullshit you. Great set. Yeah, I'm going to have my casting people look at you. He didn't even watch my set. Just fuck it. I fucking dropped out of college because they called it an industry night. And, I swear to God. Like, I wrote a letter to the professor saying that, like, yeah, keep this. Maybe you'll see me on fucking, SNL or some shit, See me on SNL. I'm not doing this. And I dropped out of college. But anyways, So Joe Matarese this week at the Ritz Theater.
That's not this week. It's February 13th. This week was the Ridgefield thing. Don't come to that. I'm actually telling you, don't come.
Don't come.
That's
come to
tomorrow
Ridgefield.
night.
No,
February
February 13th. Check them out. Is there anything else you got going on, dude? What's going on?
The Fixing Joe podcast is at this situation here. It's funny. I've been talking to these advertisers. I'll tell you this off the air, but I had this idea. It's like I started thinking about a comedian like an athlete. I'm like, how come we're sponsored on our podcasts? Why can't I be sponsored like more
Gatorade?
Well, like I started thinking about this. I'm like, if a company wants to advertise on my podcast, I'm like, I'm on a lot of other guys' podcasts too. I'm like I'm going to Artie Lang's podcast after I stopped this one with you. I started thinking, I'm like, if this company wants to advertise, when you go onto another podcast, why can't Artie go, Joe, what are your plugs? And I go, my plugs, and then I say I do the 20-second commercial right there, and cover me, and then I go to the advertiser on the phone. I go, I'll do a joke about it in my stand-up. I'll video it. I'll throw it on.
Are you gonna move your advertisers to other shows?
Yeah, why couldn't you? Because they go, well, what are your numbers? And I wanted to go, well, technically, if I'm saying it on Artie's, Virzi's, mine, Nick DiPaolo's, and Anthony Cumia's, I got high numbers.
I could see you on Artie's and Artie going, Joe, you thirsty? Why, it's funny you ask. When I get parched, I drink Gatorade.
Well, I was comparing it to Paulie and Rocky. Remember in Paulie and Rocky, the whole movie's like, I got an idea. Can I use your name? And he just starts figuring out ways. He gets him the robe, but he puts like the fucking billboard on the back of Rocky's robe. He has ways. Like, why does Seth Curry get money, for all these kids buying his sneakers? Why couldn't you and I go on, we're opening for Bill Burr in front of 12,000 people. Why can't I be wearing something from fucking Hugo Boss that they gave me that I go, let's be like this?
Because we don't drop 35 points a night all over the country against great NBA professionals.
But one thing I'm learning about advertising, this is what I'm learning because I've been reading a lot about it and I've been talking to people that are in this industry. You just lower the numbers. Oh yeah, okay, he's on every TV show, he gets multi-million-dollars. There's no reason why you and I can't get $1,000 to talk about it, where he's getting $1 million. Why can't we get 1,000? Why can't we hit a lot of singles? That's the way I look at it.
That's hilarious.
Do you disagree with me?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to call you delusional.
Is that delusional?
I'm not going to call you delusional because I understand what you're saying, but I just think it's because of the masses. Really what it comes down to is the numbers. And the thing is, Steph Curry's doing something exceptional in front of 20,000 people almost night in and night out. Now, I would agree with you.
You just went on a tour with Bill Burr. How many people saw you? And it was amazing. How many people saw you in 3 months? Jesus.
A lot.
200,000 people?
Yeah, probably a couple. Maybe, 100,000 people. No, I hear what you're saying. On a lower scale, you should definitely do it. But
couldn't be sponsored by a bourbon that's throwing you some money and you're talking about that bourbon in your set? Why can't we?
What about cigars? There you go.
Well, it's got to be something connected to you. That's what they say, these advertisers. They go, it's easy for me to sell a company if it makes sense that you're advertising it. Now, if you're Mr. Cigar, it makes total sense.
No, it does. That I definitely 100% agree with you. I agree with that.
They'll send you a box of them. You love them, and you're talking about them on every podcast.
That's it. I'm calling Davidoff right now, and I'm going to tell them that I've been going at their Davidoff Nicaraguan hard. I got people sending me pictures on Twitter saying, I just tried that Davidoff Nicaraguan you love, and I love it. Why not get money for that?
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right.
It's like that guy who wanted to give us $100 to sell out a theater. It's like, why? I'll be the comedian that is good at math. I'll give you, here's the numbers. I'm going on stage this many times.
Joe, I got an incentive for you. Here's what I got for you, all right? Next time we work together, if you bring 30 people, I get a T-shirt for you.
I got $11.
I love how he's like, here, I got an incentive for you. Like you're going to be like, oh my God, maybe I'll get out of here with another couple grand.
Dude, go read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you heard of this book? I know
no.
Do you have trouble reading?
No. Like you said, I get tired. No. All I read is sports. That's all I read.
Buy the audio book.
And my son's books for school.
It's changing my life. I'm reading this book right now, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's about this Hawaiian guy that grew up. He had a very intellectually collegiate father who didn't have a lot of money. And one of his friend's dads dropped out of high school and was a multi-millionaire. And he's tutoring him how to make money through his life. And he's comparing advice from the poor dad who has a good job and went to college to the poor guy who's a genius. And I read this whole chapter last night where I was just like, it made me want to sell my house when I got done the chapter, because it was breaking it down in pictures. He was graphing it, how people think a house is an asset. They think it's a good thing. It's an asset. And he broke it all down. He's like, no, a house is a liability. And he was showing that rich people don't stack up liabilities. They stack up assets. I don't know if this is making any sense.
No, go ahead.
He's basically saying that lower your liabilities. Like a house is something that it keeps breaking. You got to keep fixing it. This happened. I got to fix. Money here, money there, money here, money there. Mortgages. If you're paying your exact amount of your mortgage every month, you're never knocking down the principal. He's saying it's not a good investment. You're not, unless you're paying way over your mortgage payments every month. You're just paying interest most of the time. Then you end up selling the house just to pay off the mortgage. There's no gain, and then you go buy another one and you stick it in, and you're back in the same situation. And he was like showing that smart people basically they lower that, and they know how to invest their money to make money, and that a house isn't a good investment. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, he's right. Because I started thinking of my house. Do you ever get this like this with your house? You start looking at it, and you can see the things that are starting to go. Like it just naturally goes with the weather. You can see, you're like, all right, I'm going to need a whole new roof in about 5 years. The whole house is going to need to be painted. I can see where it's like it's going to eventually need it. Your kitchen that's new now is going to be old or whatever. And it's amazing. And you sit there and go, no wonder he said, this is why the rich get richer, because they don't do that shit. They'll spend their money on the thing that's going to make them money. They don't spend it on that thing.
Right. But I think what you're saying is true, but I also think that that's for people that buy a house that they really can't afford. I feel like that's for people that overextend themselves. I think if you buy an affordable house, I think if you drive a practical car and you watch your money. But
he's saying most people don't. Most people want nice stuff.
Right. And no, that's true, man. There's all these books about how – it's funny you brought that up, because somebody was telling me the other day there's books on how to really manage money and how to deal with money, and many, many people don't. People spend – the percentages of money they spend on their paycheck is opposite of what they should do. People get a paycheck and probably spend 70% of it, and or 80% of it, and you shouldn't, because it goes to, oh, I got paid, so now I'm going to buy shoes, I have my car payment, my house, I'm going to do this. I'm going to eat out.
He said most of us, the more money we make, the nicer things we get. That's the mistake. Like, oh, I made more, now I'm going to fix my kitchen. Oh, I made even more, now I'm going to do the bathrooms. You just keep doing this stuff. And it's not worth it.
Look, when you hear about Bill Gates and you hear about Mark Cuban and these guys, what do they always say about those guys? They dress normal, They wear jeans like Bill Gates said he goes to Macy's and just gets a pair of jeans and wears a nice sweater and that's it. Like it's not, I think people, I mean, that documentary I was talking about Tyson, even Evander Holyfield, everybody calls Tyson dumb for blowing $300 million. Evander Holyfield had to file for chapter. Evander Holyfield had $200 million. He had a fucking palace in Georgia, in Atlanta. He had a palace. It looked like fucking, the Roman emperor. Like it looked, and he had to get, and now it's like this empty, deserted. It's kind of sad. They showed pictures of the pool drained and like this beautiful, he had like this Tony Montana staircase on two sides going down. He had this gigantic thing. And it's just, I mean, they showed Mike Tyson walking a white tiger. I mean, the guy started buying exotic cats. You heard about the thing where Tyson, he ran out of gas. No. So he just gave the car to somebody and went to like a dealership and bought a Ferrari or something. Like it's just, I mean, listen, I wouldn't do it to that level, but, yeah, I mean, I think you got to enjoy your money, but at the same time, you got to really be, you got to really be smart. People don't live within their means,
No, yeah, and it's just that's why it had me thinking. I was saying to you recently, I looked at your numbers on the iTunes list. I go, dude, you're on the iTunes list. You could be making some decent money off of this podcast.
Yeah, and
I'm realizing it from all these people I'm talking to. And if you get the right sponsor, like you said, a cigar, if you get these companies that you really actually connect with, like this guy was explaining to me on the phone, like Uber, for instance. He said that he started experimenting, and he has he's bigger than All Things Comedy. He has a lot of podcasts, a lot of them, and he's explaining Uber is starting to work with him and how he's able to get free Uber cars for guests now.
That's awesome.
And he said, so he goes, you send your guest, and he comes to your house to do your podcast in an Uber Lincoln Town Car. He's going to talk about Uber for fucking 10 minutes, and he's not even going to be lying. He's going to say it was amazing. I was in the Uber guy was hilarious. I was in this black town car. It was amazing. It's like, those are the best ads, or when it's just like it didn't even sound like an ad.
When you're passionate about something, it doesn't sound like an ad. Like exactly like you just said. If I'm going to talk about a cigar that I smoke once a week because I love it and I enjoy it when I get home and I unwind and relax with it, and it pairs amazing with a bourbon or a scotch, I don't even have to sell that. It's just that's what I do. You know what I mean? So you're right. Those are the sponsors. And I always said to anybody, if you want to be a sponsor on the Virzi Effect, I got to kind of believe in it. I got to kind of believe in your service. I got to kind of talk about it with a passion as opposed to just, and I think that that comes across with listeners. Listeners are like, it's like when you're on stage doing stand up, you can tell if a crowd is into something and you're connecting or not. If you're talking about a product you like, it's, and that is, and anybody, I said, somebody reached out to me the other day about, a ticket service like sporting event tickets or like something like that, like a StubHub type thing. Like I like that stuff.
Right.
They're like anybody like that. So anybody listening to how many you have sponsors, right?
I have one right now, but I mean they don't really pay me money. I just promote their product, and they basically, for everybody that donates, they send earbuds to them. So it makes more people donate to my podcast because they get a free pair of earbuds and four of my stand-up CDs for their $40 donation.
Well, you know what some companies do too? I know I was talking to some comedian that smokes a vapor, uses like the vapor thing that you smoke. And he doesn't get paid from the company, but they just sent him a vapor. Like if you plug it, they'll send you shit.
Yeah.
To your house or whatever, they'll send you a product that you like or believe in. So if you was going to talk, I bought this Sony camera, and then instead of Sony giving you money, they'll just send you the camera and to talk about.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, anything, dude, anything, but you do got to believe in it,
Well, that's what they say. I'm not going to say the name because it's the number one podcast out there right now. My wife listens to it, and I don't need to promote it. I don't even want to say what it is, but they talk about that on the podcast about how, You shouldn't do a commercial that isn't connected to you, or it turns your fans off. It makes them not like you. So he makes it obvious when he's going to do a commercial. He's like, you're going to hear this song underneath it. It's a commercial. He's basically says it, and it makes sense.
No, it's definitely a turnoff to do something that you don't believe in or just to make money, and your people will see it. So
I know somebody. I'm not going to say his name, who has a podcast, and he had a company that. When he first started, now he's one of the biggest podcasters.
Oh, fuck it. Burn the bridge, Joe.
It's not a bridge to burn. This is a positive. This is a good move. he was saying the company so much, and he came up with this funny catchphrase when he would say it on his podcast, that not only did he make a lot of money from the ads, he owns 3% of the company. They gave him a percentage of the company because they knew this guy's podcast is so big that if he's saying our company a lot, it's helping the company. So why not give him a piece? He's making our company worth more. You know, there's so much secret money out there that we don't realize. I think because we're creative, we miss it.
Yeah. Well, you need a business guy that knows what they're doing. Yeah. But like,
you might be one of the worst in the history, by the way.
Who?
You.
What? Not knowing?
You're a not know. Like, you're always like, what? What do I do? How do I do that? And I always can tell you're not going to do it.
You know what I did though? I have been asking people if you want to sponsor, and people have been reaching out to me and emailing me that they want to, but it does get to a point where you need somebody. I was talking to my, my listeners, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a subscription thing where I'm going to add 3 extra episodes if you want, kind of the Nick DiPaolo style.
That's a good move, as long as you keep one for free.
No, I've always told that I don't ask for donation. I don't do anything like that. You're always going to get the Wednesday night or Thursday morning one for free. You're always going to get that one for free. But let me cut you off. You'll be on the fence with that idea when you realize that there could be more money made if you were doing the advertising the right way. Like you shouldn't be talking to the advertisers yourself. You should get a company that does that, and they work with the Virzi Effect podcast. Your numbers are good enough, trust me. And then they take usually they take a high percentage, but that's fine because you don't have to do it, and they handle everything. You get that, and then if you don't make it a subscription and you do 4 episodes a week and they're all free, and you're placing those ads on all 4 of them, your money's going to be more than if you were charging. That's what people don't realize. Yeah, no, it's a whole other. It really is a whole other part of it. It's a whole other part of doing it. It starts off with, hey, I'm a comic and I have a microphone and I'm going to do a podcast. Yeah. Then all of a sudden it's like, I know people, and I'm not going to mention names, but I know a handful of people that can live. Like I would never not do. I would do stand up if I was making $1 million for my podcast. But there, you can make enough money to live. It's really incredible, man.
Well, there's people it's the same with stand up. Remember when we started? It was just we wanted to get on stage. We didn't need money, and then it became I need $25, and then 28 years later, I'm like, this motherfucker's only wants to give me $100.
Yeah,
for a sellout, and he's giving me this much for the show, and I'm like bitching about it. So it's just the way it works.
We've come full circle. Oh, so you wrote for the gay guy or whatever. Oh, the gay guy. Hey, what are your hobbies? I don't know. Blowing Brendan under the gymnasium. Jesus. Jesus. So all right. So you wrote for the roast, and you're gonna go to Ridgefield Playhouse and hopefully make another $100.
Yes, and then the big show on February 13th at Ritz Theater.
We haven't forgot.
JoeMatarese.com for the South Jersey tickets.
South Jersey, February 13th, the Ritz Theater. Joe Matarese will be there. It's his neck of the woods. Don't miss it.
I won't talk about money either. I notice that it gets really unfunny when I start talking about finances.
No, but you go into your phases. I remember your first phase was the real estate phase, and now it's the money phase. But always great talking to you, Joe. This has been the Virzi Effect, episode 243 with special guest comedian Joe Matarese. This is going to be just one part, so this will be part 2, and I'm going to put both out today. So this will be out. Thank you for having me. So those 2 things those are the only things you want to plug, and your website, Joe, it's joematarese.com.
Yeah, and my podcast is Fixing Joe. Take a listen.
Yeah, he's got a good podcast, and Matarese, if you don't know, is Matarese. Always good to talk to you, my friend. Have a good time. Tell Artie Lang I said what's up, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, later, buddy.
All right.